easier for you?
One right there, whatever's easiest.
I mean, there's one there. We're ready when you are, Nuala.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I have 1:02 p.m. and I'm joining remotely as I'm very delighted to say that the Algoma Legal Clinic is merging with the Elliott Lake Clinic to expand our services. So I'm here today to finish up that merger piece, or otherwise I would be with you in person. Also joining us, of course, are other members, Amanda Williams, Marchie Bruni is joining electronically, Matthew Shoemaker. Joe Greco has recently become a daddy, so he's at home enjoying his brand new baby girl. We wish him also Deputy Chief Lincoln is here as our media person. I think, is Angela in the room?
Yeah.
Yes.
Angela and Sarah are also present. I'm going to begin our meeting with just a notice that, as you were already alluding, the media had requested that we do the open portion in its entirety first and then go into closed so that they're not waiting around, wasting time, waiting for us to regroup in an open session. So we're going to proceed like that today and for all meetings going forward. I will just advise the media, I think they already know this, but sometimes at the end of a closed session, there's a follow-up that comes in open or a direction that comes in open. So I'm advised that our open portion is recorded and will be available just a couple of days after the meeting, or you can reach out to Lincoln and he'll set you up so that you're not wondering where a matter ended. At any rate, if you do see the video, I think I'm told you can just skip ahead to the last few minutes when we rejoin in open and see the outcome, any follow-up from the closed session. I'm going to start with our territorial acknowledgement and begin by acknowledging that we are in the Robertson-Huron Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, specifically Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, as well as the Métis people. And we recognize our shared responsibility to care for these lands, waters, and the people who have stewarded them since time immemorial. Are there any conflict of interest declarations at this time? I don't see anything. May I have a motion to accept the open agenda for March 25th, 2026, please? Looks like Marchie and Lisa, who's our seconder there? I didn't see.
We have Amanda.
Thank you. And all in favor of that? Thanks. That's. And we also have meeting minutes from January 28th. If you had an opportunity to review those and you were present at that meeting, I need a mover to accept those open board minutes from January 28th, please. Lisa, can I trouble you just to call out who's moving and seconding? It's just too.
We have both Matt and Amanda have a move for that.
And all in favor? That's carried. And similarly, item 7 is the adoption of the open emergent board meetings that arose from our February 2nd, 2026 meeting. May I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? And just identify yourself to Lisa, if you could.
We have Marchie.
I don't know if it needs to be changed for any main reason, but the adjournment, it has, my name is Amanda Bruni instead of Amanda Williams.
Sorry, I will fix that.
Thanks. Just for clarity.
Thank you, and that's carried. And I'm gonna hand over to the chief now, and he has a number of communications and information reports. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much. I'll turn it actually to board account ledger to my finance officer.
So this is the board's auction account. Just for the 2026 year so far, we haven't had much activity. It's more for the board's information purposes at this point in time. Unless there's any questions, we can probably move on.
Purchase time costing comparison.
Court time. So this is for off-duty court costs, just for clarity. This is the first quarter of our court year. Our court year actually runs from October 1st to September 30th each year. It's a fiscal year. It's higher than it was first quarter last year. We had 2 major cases in court in the fall of this year. We've seen, I made a note in the report that we've seen an incident increase in late cancellations. And that sometimes happens when we have big cases and we're calling lots of officers to court and then things change kind of last minute. But we are taking action to work with the Crown's office just to make sure that this is better managed going forward. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you. Monthly overtime.
The overtime, so right now we're seeing month of January, which is trending very similar to the last few years. Unfortunately, the board package went out before I could get the February overtime report to you. February, we saw a drop in overtime, which we anticipated just with managing staff and things going on. As a reminder, overtime fluctuates month to month depending on calls for service. So in January, as much as we trended with previous years, we did have a few high overtime items, I will call them. We had a fatal collision in January that took some time to attend and investigate. And a few incidents with the TAC team where I believe we're doing some search warrants. So those cost money, and but we're hoping to again manage as best as we can, depending on calls for service.
Staff shortage overtime.
Staff shortage overtime for January, again, a little bit less than we've been seeing the last few years, which is good. Shortages we try to manage. We have good numbers on our platoons right now. We only have 5 short shifts for the month of January.
I will point out that at the end of 2025, our staff shortage overtime was 165,000. The previous 3 years were all at 350,000 or thereabouts. So we've obviously the hiring we brought in offset some of that overtime for us in 2025. So just monthly staff shortage overtime again. I can speak to this if you want, Angela. 5,000 for patrol and 1,000 for CERB. Year previous it would have been 9,700 and about the same for CERB. So we've had we do have some impact happening as per people being off in our dispatch area, but we're offsetting that with backfilling our tires.
I had a question, sorry, on the costing comparison for court time. And it's not on the numbers, it's on the format. It shows Q1 is October to December, but doesn't their budget run January to December?
Court time runs under the collective agreement. It's a fiscal year, October 1st to September 30th.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha, thank you.
I know I had this. Spreadsheet explains it, which is
We'll move on to 2025 year-end statistics. We'll move through this fairly quickly. Crimes of violence as a total are up 3.5% from in 2025 from 2024. A good part of that was the increase in homicides. We had 1 in 2024 and 4 in 2025. Down on attempt murders, robberies were down, sexual assaults were up by about 15%. So property crime also down by 0.3%, slight decrease. We're having major increases in possession of stolen property charges. Fraud continues to be a big number for us. And there's several charges that fall under that property crime, such as attempt thefts. Attempt theft of motor vehicle is up from 12. Now, again, that could be how we're starting. A break into in 2024, that might have been called a theft from vehicle. Now it's being called a theft of vehicle. So there is a bit of an anomaly there. Went from 1 to 12 in 1 year. So, and then which creates about 100% increase. So it's throwing the numbers off slightly, but we are just slightly up in our property crime from year to year from 2024 to 2025. Drugs continue to be an ongoing increase of 56%. Total crimes and drugs, was just all the various drugs listed, is up by 1.4%. Intimate partner violence are 6.4% increase from 2024 to 2025. The hope there is we're getting more reporting, and that's what's driving the numbers up. So
I the same if people are feeling more comfortable.
that is certainly the hope. Year-to-date stats for January, I'm going to skip through it. We didn't get February's done, so we'll do a more kind of quarterly report at the next meeting, if that's okay with you. So, if you have any questions, you have the numbers in front of you. I can certainly answer any questions you might have, but very small group to pull from. So. Zone stats. So this would be some of the Prince Township stats for 2025. We had so far this year, we have 4 calls out to Prince Township. 2025, calls for service were 121 calls for service and prints. 2024 were 116. 2023 was 122. So fairly consistently, the same top 5 calls are pretty consistent year after year, which would be police assistance, traffic complaints. We are getting some intimate partner violence calls over the last few years, but they're fairly consistent. It's mostly those assist type calls and some attempt break-in or suspicious person type calls as well. So we do a fair number of accidents on the like complaints about the speed on the highway. So just so everybody's aware, that road that extends past Airport Road is actually policed by the OPP. We do tend to take calls there because they call us first and we tend to get there quicker if we show up and it's an accident. If the OPP is not maybe available as quickly, we'll just handle the accident. Or if we get speeding complaints out there, we'll go and do some speeding enforcement as well. So the prints is fairly consistent. We don't get a lot of calls, and the calls we do get tend to not be the major homicide and Division 2 stats. This will be January and February of this year. So Division 2, we've seen 74 arrests, 41 criminal code charges, 6 CDSA charges, 124 tickets have been issued, 4 bylaw tickets, various street checks and property checks have been done. So foot patrol is getting out. Obviously with the winter, we're not out walking quite as much. You can't expect, snowstorm, not anybody out walking. So they are in a car. This summer, you'll see the bike patrol and increased foot patrols happen. So it's for downtown. Bail compliance. Again, it's a 2-person unit for us. We're looking at some discussions with we're working more closely with the OPP so we can get more of their bail people that are living within the city. But we've had 17 total arrests, 58 additional charges have been laid, 21 compliance checks. So that's just verifying people are abiding by their conditions, often curfew conditions, things like that. And surveillance hours have been 82 surveillance hours have been spent. So as part of that program, I think we're having great success. The officers certainly that are there doing plenty of work for just 2 things being involved. So. IPV stats. So this is as of the new year till March 10th of this year, we've had 206 callbacks, 2 new investigations have been initiated. There have been 0 new charges laid. So that program will continue throughout the year and we'll continue to provide updates as we go.
People who have previously reported.
So a call that we go to that has an IPV implication, whether it's argument, picking up property, if there's no charges laid, our unit would call them back and say, if you didn't feel comfortable, there's something else you want to add. So we do a check-in with somebody who didn't want to, or didn't provide enough information for a charge at that time. Charges that get laid wouldn't be counted in these numbers. So these are simply IPV related calls that we take that we don't lay a charge. We call those individuals back. So, okay. Use of force reports, again, pretty small numbers to call from, but we've had 3 incidents, 3 reports, and 1 of those incidents would have been a firearm point. That's for January of this year. February stats will come in at the next meeting. So. Compared to last year, this time we had 6 incidents, 9 reports. So we're twice as many as we had in January. Again, that can go up and down depending on what kind of calls we're taking. Complaints against the officers, essentially LECA complaints. We've had year to date 11 LECA complaints, 8 of which have already been reviewed and are now closed. So we have 3 open complaints that we're still investigating. Year to date for 2025, we've had 9 to this time team. So we're up slightly from where we were last year at this time. Notice of appreciation, there are pages. Again, Lincoln, we ran a bit of a maybe even.
So we periodically post on social media that if people are having positive interactions with members of the service, they can let us know. This particular occasion, when local media outlets shared it, and we received quite a few more than we normally do. I think we received about 40-ish when we posted that, so it was nice to see. Obviously, there's a lot here for people to take in, but nice to hear positive interactions with our members out there.
My mom wrote in 5 times.
What?
My mom wrote in 5 times. But it's great to see, and it's great to see that the public, the way to express themselves certainly took the time to reach out and congratulate the members or thank the members for the good work we're doing. So it's great to see. So
what are you like? How are you moving it forward? Like, how are you letting the Do you let each individual officer know or?
Yeah, and the officer gets to receive the email and then their supervisors are also alerted. that
Nice.
they received it.
And often, depending on the circumstance, it might get moved forward to extra recognition, or it goes on their personnel file, so they received a letter of commendation, so. Unless, again, it's your mom writing in what a great job her son is doing, so.
I think that should still go.
Yeah, thanks.
She didn't mention your name, chief.
No, yeah. Thank you for that.
It was Malcolm.
Yeah, my son Malcolm, exactly. That's my uncle for everybody who's wondering. Anyway. So I mean, I'm not gonna go through them all, but there are some great comments, and officers are obviously having numerous there's obviously negative interactions. We see the complaints, but when you see 40 positive comments about how we're doing our job, it's good to see, and certainly the officers appreciate the community reaching out and thanking them for their hard work. So good to see.
Pretty hard to be in the customer service, but like, that's hard.
Yeah.
Even you're doing your job well, but maybe the person didn't.
It's still not happy with the result, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, as long as we're being professional, and if we're not, there's a certainly mechanism for how we follow up with people who aren't satisfied with the performance. So next on the agenda is the annual report template. This is a Government Ministry of Solicitor General report for missing persons. Anytime we access urgent demands for certain files, we haven't used this, so our report shows 0, but we have to speak to it in our meetings. So on to back to Angela for this is the big report now. This would be that's the one everybody's waiting for.
So.
Moving on to-
Yes, sorry.
Year-end budget. Just for, if anybody's paying attention, this is now on item 9, where the chief, thanks for the updates there on the communication reports, and Angela is speaking to item 9, which is year-end budget update. Thanks.
Thank you.
So unaudited, I just want to make it very clear too, that these are unaudited results as provided by the city for December 31st, 2025. In your package, you'll see the financial report. You're going to see a chunk of information kind of in the middle, and that's the way the city presented it to us. And then if you look to the right, I've adjusted the numbers to account for the fact that we brought in funding from reserves for Division 2. That was a net 0 effect, and I wanted to take it out just to show more of the effect that the service had on the operation during the year 2025. Same net result. Like I said, it was 0 net impact, but it just kind of shows more. So if you look at the verbal report, the written report, if you look at the amount that we came in over in revenues, the initial presentation from the city includes the reserves. I've taken out the reserves from the revenues and the corresponding expenditures. And then I'll just talk through that. So I'm happy to say that we started 2025 projecting a $2.3 million deficit. We made some decisions during the year to try to bring that down, and I believe at Q3 I projected about a $1.2 million deficit, and we've ended up with unaudited results coming in under the $1 million mark at $922,000. I'll just go through quickly the major areas to highlight certain things. So fees and user charges, that's what we charge people for record checks and freedom of information requests and things like that. We did have a change in the fee schedule, so we saw an increase over what we budgeted. We also started doing a different type of record check, so that increased our record check revenue. So you'll see an increase there. We kept the board kind of apprised of government grants and the receipt of those during the year. We did receive a few that were not budgeted. Those have been reported at Q3 also. One of the big things that changed at year end is the NG 911 funding. So the city actually administers that grant, but because we did the expenditures, they gave us the revenue money and our revenues to offset. So it's a net 0 impact to us, but it just shows up in the revenue line. Contribution from own funds. So again, in the report that the city gave us directly, that includes the money that we brought in from reserves to fund Division 2. So it looks a little bit high, but it was money that we set aside last year to make sure that we could cover it in 2025. Other than that, the city does provide funding for major capital projects for this building in particular. They did provide funding about $160,000 for the parking lot and our HVAC system. That actually ended up not going through the contribution through reserves line, they ended up offsetting the revenues. So it ended up making the expenditures, making the expenditures look a little lower. So we did have a few things outside of Division 2 and building things that did go through contribution from reserves. And the board approved all those resolutions. That was firearms transition, the carbine acquisition. And from a few years ago, we had a couple of leases for radios and telephone systems that are working their way through that. Just for the board, for your information, our capital reserve at the end of 2025, we still had $91,000 in that. And every year we add $165,000 to that. So we can fund unanticipated things that happen during the year. Or we can build it up to use it for a bigger thing like we did for Division 2. We also have a building reserve fund, $110,000 goes into that every year. We've been doing that for a few years. The balance of that reserve at the end of December was 0 because we pulled all the money that was in it out again to help fund Division 2. So that's just for the board's information going forward to know what we have in our reserves. Other income is just small one-time grants, reimbursements, other miscellaneous amounts. We had a small one-time grant go through there that we hadn't budgeted for. A couple of vehicles that we sold in auction that offset leasing costs. So they just go through the revenue line. We see the additional cost in our leasing line. The big item, moving on, salaries and benefits. We've known all year long that that's where we're going to get hit the hardest and be over budget. We carried for most of the year 11 sworn FTEs over what we had budgeted. So that contributed to the $2 million that we were over budget for 2025 in the salaries line. And then again, the overtime, talked about that at length, the fact that we didn't budget what we actually thought was appropriate. So we were about $650,000 over what we budgeted for overtime in 2025. Benefits, correspondingly, were over budget. A lot of our benefits are tied to salaries, so they're a percentage of salaries. So if salaries are over budget, benefits are also going to be over budget. Two things I wanted to highlight that contributed to benefits being over budget was WSIB administration costs and retiree benefits. These are line items that are estimated when we prepare our budget. The city provides us with those numbers based on information they have, costings they have, and trends. We ended up coming over in those amounts that we had budgeted for, and we had addressed that in the 2026 budget. We did increase those line items a little bit more, so that shouldn't be as big of a difference. Again, it fluctuates depending on how many people are off and the cost of the administration costs. But we are working with the city to make sure that in 2027 that we are addressing a better way to approach those costs. And then lumping together our other expenses, these are things that basically we as a service have greater control over. So very near to the beginning of 2025, knowing that we were coming in a deficit, we had some discussions on how we were going to pull back and maybe save some money. And I'm happy to report that we were able to, again, outside of Division 2 costs, about $1.2 million we underspent in operating and capital. The biggest bulk of that came through travel and training courses that we decided we could defer or perhaps not attend in 2025, knowing that in 2026 we would have to get caught up. Materials and supplies, we had savings here of just over $500,000. And again, these are things that we decided that we could defer or maybe not do in 2025. So things related to hiring, we had the hiring freeze, so we didn't end up expending any of those things. We renegotiated our cell phone plan to save some money. We had the firearms transition, so we didn't have to spend the ammunition that we had budgeted for. And we had some changes in contracted services, the courthouse and janitorial supply. Other than that, unless there's any questions, that's kind of the big picture highlights of how we ended up where we were at the end of 2025. And I think we're pleasantly surprised that we came in under the $1 million mark.
Yeah, if there's no questions, just like to thank the team here and the entire organization. Obviously everybody to kind of look at how we were going to start reducing some of those expenses throughout last year. Everybody had to participate in that, and obviously, you know, missed some courses we'll have to make up for, and there's some hiring we didn't do that we'll be doing now, especially on the civilian side of the house. So we're in the process of getting that done now, but it certainly brought the that 2-year kind of large deficit down for us, and which was kind of our goal at the beginning of the year. And now I think we have a far more well-aligned budget for what we're actually spending, especially on the overtime, WSIB costs, things like that. So, moving forward, I think we'll be far better positioned to have a, and again, if there is large expenses, we'll know about it throughout the year, and we can certainly adjust for it. So, obviously, like thank the financial department and everybody in the organization for the work they did to try and get us down to this numbers.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Chief. Is there any questions for Angela? Margie, I see, has a question.
Yeah, question to Ms. Davy. Regarding the working relationship with city staff now, has that improved immensely, or like, are you satisfied with the working relationship with them now?
Yeah, so we have the MOU with the city now, and we've been having a lot more communication. And I believe it was about 2 weeks ago, I had my first quarterly meeting with Steve Basie down at the finance department down there. We had a very robust and healthy conversation, and I'm happy with the relationship moving forward.
Access to the data banks and things like that are good.
That was all taken care of late last year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there,
Bush, sir?
Mayor Shoemaker has a question?
Not a question, just some comments. I was fairly critical of the service when we found out roughly this time last year, that there was a significant budget overage in 2024 that we were finding out about after the end of the fiscal year, and that they were projecting a significant budget deficit for 2025. So the work that Chief Duguay and Angela and the board undertook to make sure that was corrected throughout the year by bringing costs down wherever, deferring expenses, seeking out additional revenues, it obviously made a huge difference. I mean, it swung the projected deficit by $1.4 million. So kudos to the team here. And I think it is really a good testament to what good governance and good operational oversight looks like, and hopefully that continues.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any other questions or comments? I would like to take the opportunity also to thank Angela and her teeny tiny team. I know that they're really human resources is a struggle for finance, and it was certainly the highlight of the year. And you really dug in and did a beautiful job. And I appreciate your attendance, and as usual, Angela, for making these figures so palatable and understandable. And I know you do have that open door policy for the board if there's questions. And I also want to thank the chief and deputy chief in their applications and throughout the interview process before they were hired. Fiscal responsibility was top on their lists, and you made good on those promises. And it's it's like it's like starting a diet in the new year. Like, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but it really worked out. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
If there's nothing further, we can move on to the next item, which is item 10. It's staffing and deployment for secondary activities. Chief has an update.
Yes, thank you. So we'll go through this report. Promotions. Derek Belanger got promoted to to sergeant, on February 9th of 2026. So he was extremely happy to get that promotion. That was a result of moving Derek McFarland, who had previously been in our recruitment, had been downtown, vacating that sergeant position in recruitment. We moved him back into the recruitment position, created a vacancy, and so Derek Belanger was next on the list for promotion, was promoted to sergeant. We've also had a retirement. Paul Gravel, who's been an officer here for 23 years, retired in February of this year. So that was great for Paul and his life moving forward. So he's now retired, comes off which changes our authorized and our actual. The authorized and actual will be authorized 163 officers. We are actual at 166. And we have 4 secondment members, which would be part of that 166. So 4 officers are being working secondment, and their salaries are being covered in either whole or in part by other organizations. So, and then the secondary activities, again, a slew of paid duties. These all come through the paid duty system within the organization. So officers sign up for that, and majority of which would be Greyhound games, and I'm not sure if they're gonna go deep in the playoffs or not, but we'll have a few more of those for next month. That's all. Fingers crossed, they go deep. That would be the end of that report for me.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions on that, everyone? Thank you. And item 11 is speaking to a new software or an existing software, and Brent is going to give us an update on what that looks like, and he has a request of the board.
So, yeah, so we've, as an organization, I'm gonna have Lincoln speak to it because Brent speaking to it will not do anybody any good, but we purchased some software, Thought Exchange software, which allows us to do some survey work that's now being required for, year-end reports and for some of our request for grants. So Lincoln's going to speak to it. He did the research and he's kind of taken a bit of a lead on it. So I'll have him go through his quick PowerPoint here and then we can have some discussion about what my ask for today is.
Thank you, Chief. Also want to just recognize Inspector Dewar. This falls under his area, and he was obviously crucial in this. But as the Chief mentioned, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the Thought Exchange software, what we're going to use it for, with the focus of strengthening both community engagement and giving our internal members a stronger voice when it comes to expressing their thoughts and concerns on internal issues. Obviously, it will help lead to next slide. There we go. Help lead to informed decision making. So Thought Exchange is a digital platform and structured engagement tool where participants can respond to open-ended questions and/or answer survey type questions and rate their satisfaction. The process is aimed at surfacing kind of what matters most to the participants, their needs, their concerns. We obviously hear from junior members of the service or frontline staff that, they don't feel that their voice is being heard at some time. So this will give them another avenue to communicate their concerns upwards. It does use artificial intelligence to help identify some of these key themes. As you can expect, if we do a community-wide survey and we get thousands of responses, sitting there and analyzing all that would take a really long time. So AI will help us speed up this process while we will still have access to the raw data to confirm some of the results. So it combines qualitative and quantitative thoughts. And yeah, so we've done one survey already, which is for a community safety grant, and we're just in the process of going through that right now. But what we're seeing is why this matters to police is obviously police services rely heavily on community trust and dialogue, and this we feel will give us another avenue of engaging with the community. Traditional engagements, like say a town hall, you're going to miss people, right? People can't attend, it's at a bad time, people working. So this will give us another avenue to reach out to people that maybe have something they want to contribute, some thoughts on the service they're getting from the Sault Ste. Police. So we're hoping to kind of capture a larger audience by utilizing the digital platform. And it does allow them to participate on their own time. So increasing accessibility. If people have, mobility challenges and they can't get to a community center where we would maybe host a town hall, they can use this platform instead. It also provides anonymity. So hopefully that will encourage, honest input from the community, our internal folks, especially on sensitive topics. So this will support, data-informed decision-making for the chief, senior leaders, and, potentially the board. I did want to point out, though, that in addition, most, if not all, the grants we're now applying for require some sort of survey data when in the reporting process. So this obviously will check that box and then allow us to do further engagement with our members and the community. So when it comes to financial provincial grants, this is a requirement. So we're going to make sure that we're providing accurate and consistent data. So uses for the police and for obviously the board. Like we mentioned, we can use Thought Exchange to gather input on community safety, policies, trust, service delivery, all those fine things that we receive complaints about and/or compliments. So we want to make sure that we're doing the job that the folks think that they deserve. Internally, it will provide us, a safe way for members to share perspectives on culture, morale, and operational improvements. We've already seen that with the first survey that we conducted, because of the open-ended option. Some folks did share some things that maybe weren't relevant to that exact survey, but we're getting some important information about how they're viewing what the leadership is doing with the service. And also, like I mentioned, is scalable, so we can do small internal surveys or larger community-based focused surveys or engagements to really, help us inform some of our decision making. Now, value to the police service board. Again, it's data driven, gives us really some valuable data to help make decision making, specifically when it comes to strategic planning. So the strategic plan is actually the board's. Obviously, it's done in collaboration with the service, but we really want to understand what the community is feeling and some of their insights and their thoughts on what has happened with the Sault Police. So this will allow us to engage them at a more valuable level. So again, allows them to participate on their own time. Hopefully this increases in accessibility and participation from the people in our community and the people that we all, are paid to serve and provide safety for. Anonymity again. So maybe if it's a sensitive issue or a certain topic that could be controversial or sensitive, then we'll allow them to provide information anonymously so that they can still contribute something that they feel is valued for the service. Now, how would we deliver that? So with our initial one, we did it by an email only invitation for our members that went out internally and to partner organizations. But we can also use QR codes that we can post on our social media platforms, on our website, any media partners that would share it for us, especially if we're doing community-based engagement. So that will allow anybody to use it on their phones. We will aim to keep most of these engagements fairly short so that we don't have survey fatigue. Obviously, we need to be strategic in how many of these we do internally and externally so that we keep getting people to participate. But we think it's going to be a valuable resource for us. It's easy, it's accessible, and obviously people can access it wherever they are. They don't need to sign up for an account to use it. They can just access the QR code or an email invitation, however we see fit for that particular engagement. But it's been an interesting tool to get to be familiar with. Obviously, we're still learning. We've only done one. We've already identified some areas where we could have done the first one better. But we think it's going to be a valuable tool for us internally as a police service, but obviously for the board as well when it comes to engaging the community on different initiatives and projects. And that's where I will hand over to our fearless leader. But yeah, if there's any questions or concerns about the platform, please let me know.
Thank you, Lincoln. I see Matt has a question, please.
Lincoln, with respect to the anonymity of the submissions, how do you weed out like people spamming the surveys that are just unhappy with policing or unhappy with an interaction that they had with police?
Yeah, so we haven't done a large scale one of those just yet, but I think what we'll have to do is kind of go through the raw data and just kind of analyze whether or not there's valid complaints there, I guess. I kind of compare it to looking at a review of a vacation spot or a restaurant. Like you take the really, really positive ones, take the really, really negative ones, they kind of wash each other out, right? So you're trying to find the middle ground to get the most honest answers there. So that will be a challenge when we do a large scale community survey. But that's kind of, I think, how we would approach that.
Well, the company's provided some support in how to structure the surveys so you get more realistic answer. Like, I mean, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. That's why we're kind of starting off with some of these smaller surveys so we can work out the bugs. I think that obviously for us, as we move towards the board's strategic plan at the end of next year, I think the last time we did community consultation cost the service about $80,000 back in 2 chiefs or 3 chiefs ago. So this will allow us to get some of that done, as well as all the revenue that we can potentially be applying for using the organ request surveys. For me, it's the big item is our wellness within our own organization, and we're coming into a contract year, so kind of identifying what may or may not be important to the membership there. And certainly wellness is one of those things I know is important to our members. So we started a new wellness committee, and we'll be utilizing this platform to help us try to draw from the membership what they feel is missing within the organization to help their mental and physical well-being. So the reason that's all important, unless there's any more questions.
My only question is what have been your lessons learned from the first one? Like, what have you noticed? And that could go better if we do more of community.
I think we could improve the way we communicated it with internal members. We didn't get an overwhelming response.
Okay.
So I think that's number one. Number two, the structure of it, just the way we had to do this first engagement was challenging anyways, just because we were behind 8 ball a little bit. But the way you're structuring the questions, the order of the questions to try to get people they're kind of leading into one after the other. And yeah, make sure that when we provide that open-ended option there, that we're really making sure that's a targeted question toward the topic.
Okay, I got you.
That's kind of my take. I don't know, Inspector Dorf, if anything else jumped out to you, but we had a meeting with Thought Exchange and they helped us flip through the tools, be like, hey, this is how we would analyze this data. This is what this tool does. They've been really hands-on, which has been appreciative, especially as we're just getting the first one off the ground to make sure that we're using it appropriately and getting as much value as possible from the tool.
Okay.
Yeah, but Lincoln's right. We have to be very cognizant of how we word a question, because what we might think the question, they're responding slightly different than what we anticipated. So
Right.
Just really focusing on how we word questions and that, and especially like Link said, our first one, there's going to be some bumps with.
Oh, absolutely. That's great.
And I think from my perspective as a chief, get the information out there, make people, they have to learn to trust the system, right? They have to learn to trust it is anonymous. We're not gonna say something, then their staff's gonna be, so we have to get that communication down to the people we want using the surveys.
Yeah.
And that'll come from the chief's office down, and once people learn that, it's there to benefit their well-being, and it helps. The more people that participate in it, the more data we have, the better we can make decisions. It's just going to be a learning curve, I think. So we're going to put out some messaging, do some lineup training, let everybody kind of understand because often we get 1,000 emails a day. You get another survey, you hit delete. It's not about me. It doesn't matter. It's spam. This is all. So I think we just have to.
The upfront communication has to.
Yeah, so we ran the first one fairly quickly because we had some time constraints with regards to getting one of our forms into the government so we can get our money. So we wanted to get it out quickly, but I think we need to, and we will do a little better job of making sure everybody understands why we're doing what it's about and the pros to it. So
Okay.
So why that's all important? Does anybody else have any questions? I apologize.
That's fantastic. That's exciting. Why are you telling the board about this today?
Well, in the light of fiscal responsibility, there is an opportunity here for the board to so we purchased it for 3 years. By doing that, we got it reduced down by about $20,000 a year. So it sits at about 40, 42, 45. If the board feels that they will get benefit from this, if they like to share costs or pay for the first year, we pay. So it's been budgeted for. If the board says, no, we don't really think there's a benefit, but there is board money. It certainly meets the requirements of the CSP or CSPA. If there is a desire for the board to share the costs of this, it would certainly offset, the cost we're paying as a police service. But if that's, we just felt we should present it, as it will be used for board reports and board, potentially the strategic plan. So the pitch is hat in hand, is if the board would like to share the cost. We'd happily take half or all for the first year if that's.
The chief.
So yeah, the request is if the board would like to participate in the sharing of the cost for Thought Exchange.
I was in an agenda review meeting with senior command, and Brent, you went through some avenues that you thought this software would be very helpful for the board. Can you just outline that so we can see how it would be useful for us, separate and apart from the service, please?
Yeah, so we had some discussions about upcoming negotiation, obviously our wellness. There are certainly some community groups that maybe don't feel comfortable coming forward to the police or to a meeting or to a town hall meeting. This could certainly be a first step to reaching out to some of those community groups. So as opposed to thinking we know what the issues are, they can actually tell us what the issues are. So certainly has a very broad application, depending on the direction we want to take it. Again, it's the request from the board is simply a financial request. We already have it. We'll be doing those things. It's just whether the board feels they want to partner with the service and utilize the money that's in some of the account or in the account to offset some of the costs. But
thank you.
So that was kind of
you identified the strategic plan and also the upcoming labor negotiations. You thought this would be a helpful tool. March, you had a question?
Yeah, to Angela, where would the money from the board come from?
This
What
would come from
account?
the board's, the auction account.
The auction account? Fair enough.
Yeah.
approximately
Have we-
$170,000 an hour.
Have we taken much money out of the auction account in the last couple of years, or is it just mostly donations?
It's been a few donations, a few reimbursements to the police association for indemnification. And then the board office that we just completed for Lisa. Other than that, not much has come out of that account over the last several years.
Okay, thank you.
There's, and just for the board's knowledge, in actual accessible cash, it's about $75,000.
And
I
our-
think Matt has,
Oh,
oh,
And
sorry,
our
Mark.
responsibility would be, how much, $20,000?
20 to 40.
Yeah, 20 to 40. If you want to cover the first year, we'll cover the next. I mean, we're going to budget for it year after year, so it's however you want to structure it. Half for this year, and we can revisit it next year. I mean, whatever. Totally up to the board. I mean, the ask is for whatever you're willing to give, essentially.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Matt,
Yeah, thanks, Noah. Or Madam Chair, I should say. I think I'm not against contributing to it from the board account. I just wonder if there's any need to do that now, and perhaps we should track throughout the year what quantity of this tool is used for the service and what quantity is used for the board, and then pay our proportional share before December 31st. If that's even possible to track.
That's,
It'll just be dependent on how many surveys we're using for board position, right? Like, I don't think as a board, we're going to say we require this specific survey for us alone. So I'm not opposed to contributing, because I would like to use the data in the upcoming things throughout the year, and I think that's fair.
So my vision was, if we do a internal wellness, I'm gonna be reporting that information back to the board. Likely and asking for some, or potentially to negotiate for greater benefits at a contract negotiation. So, I mean, I
You
think,
want us to spend.
I think it's all gonna be kind of intertwined. But I mean, if I think you're right.
You're gonna bring
it'll be
everything to the board so we can cover 100% of
You, very good, Mr. Rep.
Is it a negotiation?
Well, not at this point. So, yeah, I mean, we can certainly revisit at the end of the year. We can show how many surveys we've done, and then, I mean, if that's, I mean, I'll leave it to the board too. It's just something I felt we could bring forward and have a discussion about. So.
Yeah, I'm just from a procedural perspective, Madam Chair, I think, I'd be prepared to defer this request to the last meeting of the year with a report at that time on how much of this information has come directly to the board for our purposes, to the best ability of that you can track it, and then make a determination at that time on what portion of the total we cover.
do you have a seconder for that motion?
I don't know. I'm unfortunately relatively impartial. I'd be fine allocating 50%, like doing the 20,000, so that we're not concerning ourselves with the specifics of what did we use, and like, I'm wondering how that goes, but I'm also not opposed to what you're saying. So
I think if
I would love
it
other
was 250,000, we'd probably
hesitate
go
a
the
lot
route
more,
of, yeah, but I get your point.
It'll be at least 50% by the end of the year. Mr. Mayor. I can already see that.
Make sure.
Margie has a question. Amanda, if you're moving that, I'll second that for 50%. And Margie has a question.
No, I don't have a question. I was going to provide my thoughts, provide the 50% for this year, and let's reevaluate the next year, etc.
Yeah.
Tom has his hand up, Nuala.
Hi, Tom.
I know. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, I just need to remind the board that under the act, if you're going to use the funds coming from the auction proceeds, there's a public interest consideration that the board has to make. So there's pretty wide discretion on how, under the act, how the board can use the funds, but the board has to consider it to be in the public interest. So you just need to factor that into your decision making.
Thank you, Tom. And I'm thinking from what I'm hearing with the survey capabilities, and also the board is the entity that signs off on any grant monies. I think I'm satisfied that that is in the public interest. Shall we vote on that? All in favor of 50%, which amounts to $20,000, please? That looks like carried. Beautiful.
Madam Chair, we'll provide a year-end report for how much you got used at the last meeting for your convenience as well, so.
Thank you, Chief. Moving on to the next item. This is the OAPSB Spring Conference in June 1st to 3rd. We have budgeted for it. I attended one a few months ago in the fall time, and I didn't find it particularly substantive. And then I attended with Chief, Deputy Chief, and Lisa, a recent one, which was a joint with police chiefs, I think. Found that incredibly substantive. Lots of very, very valuable material, really helpful, particularly for Amanda and myself as we go into labor negotiations. So I'm not quite sure where this one falls, but it is budgeted for. Another thing that occurs to me is we don't have an agenda yet. Maybe we don't need to decide it right now, but that's on the table to see if anyone's interested in attending that conference. It's June 1 to 3 in Niagara. I wonder if we should, Lisa, is it possible to get, are we going to get an agenda at any reasonable time for this?
I don't know when it will come out, Nuala. I can make it available as soon as I get it.
Like, I don't want to spend the money, frankly, to go, or I think we've budgeted for two people to attend. I'm not opposed to it, and I think there's a lot of value in person. But if it's not substantive, if there's not substantive material being presented, it is a waste of money that we can not really afford to do. So maybe we should defer this till we get a little bit more information and see if it's got some meat.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna move to defer this then.
All right, and I'll provide the agenda as soon as it becomes available.
All right, let's do that, maybe everyone. So if we're content, we'll do that. And I'm going to move forward with the next. Is also a request for a donation, this time from Algoma Family Services, and they've provided materials. They're not in attendance today, but they have provided materials in our agenda. So if you want to take a look at that and see it's for a fundraiser for them to see if we could support it. Chief, can you color that in a little bit for us, please? Or Lisa?
Yeah, apparently there's a color run. They've asked for volunteers. Typically, there's a table. If you make a donation, you get a table. They've asked for volunteers from the service. I will put that out to the membership. I obviously can't order people to volunteer, but we will attempt to have some of our downtown Division 2 and auxiliary officers potentially attend the event as well. Then we'll put it out to the membership. As far as the donation, obviously police service doesn't make donations. It's a board issue, and I'm not sure if maybe Lincoln, if you can. I don't know. We participated in this last year. I think we had a visible presence kind of at these types of events throughout the year. We try and get officers down and just show our presence down in the downtown, but I don't think we've ever volunteered or had a table or anything like
We haven't
that.
participated in this since I've been here, don't you?
So it's we will do our part to try and see if anybody wants to volunteer for it. We will certainly try and get some auxiliary and some officers down there. As far as the financial, it's kind of left with you folks and how you feel about donations.
And can you just advise again, what's the ask? What's the quantum? It's like 500, I think.
Yeah, they're looking for $500.
Do we have anyone that'll move that to make it the donation to? And sorry, I have a question. Typically, I know there were former board members that had a position that they didn't make donations, but historically, was this one of the things that police would generally support, or the board would support rather?
This is the first time request from this organization in this event.
Is there anyone on the board prepared to move that, to make the $500 donation? I don't think I see a mover. Okay, so we're not going to proceed with that then. It looks like, is that right, Lisa? Am I reading the room properly?
Yep, that's correct, Nolan.
Okay, thanks, everyone. And similarly, we have a request for a bursary allocation, and I know Lisa walked me through this and explained it to me yesterday. So I don't know if Lisa or the chief could explain the ask on this.
I can speak to this, Nuala. We have for many years done bursaries and awards for Sault College. We do $1,500, the board does, and that is split up amongst 3 programs. In the past, we've given $500 bursary to the office administration program and $500 to the computer studies and $500 to the police foundations and the protection security investigations program. The Sault College has done away with the administrative program. It doesn't exist anymore. So they reached out to us to ask what we wanted to do with the additional $500 because that program no longer exists. My suggestion to the board is that we just continue with the $1,500 and have that additional $500 reallocated so that $500 will go to Police Foundations program, $500 will go to a student in security and investigations program, and we will continue with the $500 in computer studies.
And from our perspective, we obviously draw applicants from these, and we have a close relationship with the law and security program. So, I mean, I've never had any input on the bursaries before, but obviously, a benefit to us is we have a presence in the college. There are a lot of local individuals as well. People come from outside, they want to get involved in policing, either at the civilian level or at the sworn officer level. So we're happy, you know, we've always been happy to go. We present the bursary and we attend the event. But as far as the finance, I really don't have an opinion on how you want to divvy up the bursary.
And we're not changing the amount. It's the same 1,500 that we bought. We're just changing the programs because one of them is no longer available. We'll divert it to the other police program.
Okay, it's an investment in here.
Marchie has
Community and goodwill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Computer studies. Can someone enlighten me? How's that compared to Police Foundation and what was the other one?
We did office administration, the police
Yes.
foundations and computer studies. I think initially probably the thought process was as those were places that the service was drawing employees from. Yeah, go ahead, Ange.
Sorry, Marchie, I'll speak to that. We have drawn employees from the computer studies program. I believe 2 members of our IT team are actually directly from that program.
I would be in support of $1,000, 500 for the 2 personally. If we paid for office administration before and that's not there anymore, I would just give 1,500 to each.
Oh,
Okay.
Not do computer?
No, well,
Just keep
security
it at 500
investigations is
for
what we want.
Well, I think March's got a motion on the floor.
To
Yep.
reduce it to 2,000?
Reduce it to
Well, Mark-
$1,000.
And do it and split it between which 2 programs, Marchie, sorry?
Well, can you put it back up on the screen, Lincoln, please? I don't have it on my.
Oh, police foundations, security investigations, and computer studies. So you want to do just police foundations and security investigations?
Yes. $500 each. That's my resolution.
Is there a seconder for Marchie's motion for $1,000? There's no seconder. That's dies. And then the original ask of $1,500. Is anyone prepared to move that? I can't tell. Matt, I think, and
Amanda.
seconding it. All in favor of that? Of $1,500?
Angela, you
That's,
said 2 individuals came from that computer studies program out of how large of a division?
4 people,
Oh, 50%.
50%.
I think that's a good investment.
I think that was carried,
It was, sorry.
Thanks,
It's an
right?
afterthought.
Our next item, number 15, this is with regard to security locker for police notebooks. Chief, could you walk us through this, please?
Yes, thank you. So over the last few years, we've attempted to move forward a system where we can have our notebooks secured, officers that leave the organization. We have a retention issues. There's been an attempt to try and get our current notebooks more secured. So we're asking for $25,000 out of capital reserve, which has to be a board request, so that we can provide almost like the old mail slots where they have a lock key and the staff sergeant, so they're not, because often people come take a look at a notebook, it's put down on a desk, doesn't get returned. Somebody shows up for work the next day, a notebook's missing. Oh, sorry, staff was looking at it, forgot to bring it back. Like, so this provides a little more accountability, a little more security for our notebooks. And then as officers are retiring, or when they get beyond the 3-year mark that we've established in our policy, their notebooks would then go into a secure facility. This is to buy racks and totes and things like that, so we can properly secure the notebooks without, we had a flood, the notebooks are all ruined. And then there's a sign out system that we're gonna have for court. If you had a large case and you've already turned your notebook in, you have to sign it out. Barcoding, I think, was discussed. So we're looking basically to buy some totes and shelving and a secure notebook locker system up to $2,500 or $25,000. And again, that has to be asked for through the board because we're going to bring it out of capital reserves. It's something we will only use moving forward. So.
Matt?
I'm just wondering if there's the possibility of, after the 3 years, somehow turning it into an electronic piece of information and storing it digitally instead of storing it physically.
Potentially, I don't know, Derek, maybe you can speak to it. You kind of had the research on this. You'd be scanning every officer's notebook. We've gone from traditional policing. I take a notebook, I don't end that notebook. It takes me 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months. Then when the full notebook's full, I submit that. We're going to go to a year-by-year system. Derek, you want to speak to?
Part of the cost is the secure thing. So my daily notebook gets locked up in the secure thing. We are looking to eventually go towards e-notes. So that would become obsolete, that locker system at some point anyway. But the old notebooks still have to be secured in a place and we still have to store them properly. So at the end of the day, we have to do something with them. 3 years was picked because it fits with the Jordan principle as far as court and stuff like that.
Digitalizing it all is probably the future, to go back and do
Absolutely.
15 years with stored notebooks, so I mean,
But that doesn't help right now.
Right.
So down the road, for sure.
yeah, I think notebooks eventually be a thing of the past. But where we are before that happens, we still need to secure the ones we have currently. Right.
Record retention for the notebooks you have now is, sorry, how long?
20 years.
Okay.
And there is unless it doesn't have anything that is of vital importance, or but how do you make that determination? So we store them all, and then at the 20-year mark, they get dead. But we have boxes and boxes and boxes of notebooks in our basement, and we're running out of. So we need something. I mean, the old days of they go into a banker's box. Well, if we have a flood, what happens to all those notebooks? They become useless to you, right? I mean, there's lots of reasons why we want them secure, and we've had various systems in the past that make them secure. Everybody used to just keep them in a little secondary locker that we all have. But then you lose access to when, somebody else needs to pull your notebook. Somebody goes off sick for an extended period of time. You're looking for the notebook and it's not there. And now you're trying to track it down. So this just kind of gives us a system where we know where the lockers are, and there's some accountability to checking in and checking it out, and some security when they are sitting outside the staff sergeant's office, that they're locked and secured. So not everybody has access to them without going through the staff sergeant. So.
Any further questions, comments on this?
How many vendors are there for such lockers? Sorry, I should have put my hand.
Yeah, no,
I assigned a staff sergeant to look into it. He looked at 4 or 5. We even looked at like old post office boxes and stuff like that, if there's anything left over, and there weren't.
Okay,
This was the least expensive, usable system.
okay.
Yeah, so we don't have a requirement to tender it. We went out and looked at a bunch of different vendors that would do what we wanted to do. And this was the company that gave us the price was the cheapest one. I think it's $8,000 for the, for the bank. We need 2, if we decided, that's just for patrol service, we decided service wide. So that's why we left ourselves, plus whatever shelving and plastic totes we need to buy. So it will take us a while to get this done. As far as getting everybody's notebooks in, because you have to, obviously we have a an ROI person that will be checking them in and make sure they're secured, then we have to have a system, we'll develop a system for checking it back out. So we left ourselves, our estimate is if we had to go and buy 3 banks of lockers, it gives us enough that we can do that. So we're looking for permission up to 25,000. We may not end up spending all that if we get a deal on totes, half price of Walmart or whatever totes we decide to get. We'll certainly look for every bargain we can. But ultimately, yeah, it's going to be an expense, and because we own the equipment, we want to pull it out of capital. So.
Thank you. Margie, did you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I still don't have a clear picture. When the book is full, where does the book go to?
So if it's within 3 years or within your last 3 notebooks, it stays in a slot outside the staff sergeant's office. If it's within 3 years, it goes down into a locker that's downstairs in the basement. Beyond 3 years, it's supposed to go into a tote that we keep secured in another storage room. So that's how that's what our system will be. Currently, there's people have 20 years worth of notebooks in their locker downstairs. They're in a shoebox. Still there's just a lot of cleanup that needs to be done with the system. So your current notebook, if you're on patrol, sits in a slot outside the staff sergeant's office so they can access that in case you get a call about something you did when you're on your days off. What we're trying to do is buy a system so now that'll have a key on it, so staff sergeant would have to take the key, make a note in his notebook that you took your notebook out, reviewed your notebook, replace it, make a note that you replaced it, what time. So there's a little more structure to it, and we don't get into the discussions about, oh, sorry, I came back to work and my notebook's missing and I don't know where it is and it's not my fault because they're sitting here unsecured. No, it doesn't happen a lot, and again, but I think we just need to clean it up. There's some direction that given by a board a while back, and we started the process, but we really never addressed how can we fix this and make it better. We looked at putting it in the gun lockers, but there's not enough, a lot of room there, and now you're messing with, you're going into somebody's locker where there's a gun and a firearm, and so we're just trying to come up with a system again that will simplify it, make it secure, and standardize it. Essentially, is what we're looking for. So.
You mentioned a vendor. Is it a local vendor that you're going with, or is it a out-of-town vendor? Do we know?
It's not local.
Not local.
So we did call the post office because they did a bunch of, we were thinking, we used to get general delivery, and that's basically what we're buying is a bank of those where you'd have a key and go, or a safety deposit box essentially, where you go and be able to pull your notebook out. They didn't have anything, so we thought, well, if they had something that we could repurpose, we would do that for now, but we ended up having to find somebody that sold it. It's a very specific item. There aren't a lot of companies that are obviously producing them. We thought our gun lockers, but our gun lockers are probably twice the size that we really need for this. So we tried a couple of different avenues. Is kind of what we came up with that suited our needs the best.
Okay, Madam Chair, my last question. Did you check with any other police services what they do with their books and storage facilities?
Similar process. There's varying processes. This is one that works the best for us. They all have a secure mailbox type system that we're looking to do. But for the most part, yeah, we did reach out to other services to find out what they do.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you,
I have
Mark.
a question.
Comments on this?
Sorry, Neil, what?
Thanks, Amanda. Go ahead, please.
My question is, you have the cost for the infrastructure. What about the staffing, like labor costs to get it organized and implemented? Have we thought about that?
Yeah, so we pay our ROI person and the officer gets paid by the hour, so they'll do it on duty and the ROI person. Yeah, once we create the process, I mean, we time away potentially from other duties. There is some opportunity to offset that with, you know, part-time staffing that could come in and make a project. If we want to get it done quicker, that's probably the best way to do it, is like, oh, within this 2 months, we're gonna have everybody done. Again, once the thing goes up on the wall inside the staff center, that solves the immediate problem. Long-term storage is a separate issue, and we've already started long-term storage. We're just looking to, that is more shelving and more totes and things like that, but we have that process kind of already started. The majority of this is for the bank of lockers that goes outside. That's simply screwing it to the wall and start using it. Issue everybody their key, and then we can start using it.
Anything further, Matt?
It's always the low-cost items that cause the most debate, but I would say, yeah, it sounds like this is a reasonable request for the immediate term with the system we're using, but it does highlight, I think, the need to look at a new system for notes that is more 21st century.
100%. And e-notes is certainly on our list, and we certainly budgeted the $400,000 for next year to move to a more digitalized system. So
Yeah.
It all falls within kind of that DEMS, that digital evidence management. This is certainly the next evolution of that. We've looked at trialing some other companies, and there's some, the OPP did a bit of trial in the East, and there's certainly some benefits to it. Again, I think that is the future. I think we'll be there in the next year or two, at least at some level. CID probably start off and then go to patrol, but I still got to get to there before I'm here. So
Yeah.
So it's more of a risk management issue between then and now, and certainly cleaning up the back end where the retention issues and the space that's required for that is something we're also going to have to address. So
maybe by 2050 we'll be able to get rid of the shelving.
yeah, maybe. You know, I won't be here to. Somebody certainly can.
Is there further discussion on this item?
Sorry, in our capital, what's that reserve called? What do we have in that reserve?
For 2026, $244,000.
Anything else budgeted for this year?
We have two small amounts coming out for the last years of leases that were approved about 5 years ago, maybe 30,000 in total for those.
Okay.
Yeah, there was no, we purposely for this year kind of kept it, because we knew kind of what had happened in 2025, so we didn't plan on anything large for this year to come out of capital. We're trying to build a bit of a bank so that when we do have that, we're gonna be looking at new sites for the guns potentially next year, so we didn't want to have a big hit to the capital this year, but this kind of came up as a, I honestly thought we would, I didn't realize we had to board approval for it, so that's why we're here today, because I thought I would just find the money somewhere else, but there's no finding $25,000 extra. There's not that much left to be found, so that's why we're here today.
Thank you. Anything further on this? I'm looking for a mover, please. Matt will move. I'm happy to second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Our next item is item 16, and it shows in the agenda as Elder Advisory Committee. Today, we're only going to speak to the advisory committee piece. I've asked to defer the Elder Advisor, which is something separate. It was an initiative I wanted to speak to, and I'd like to be present. But just before we move on to this, I just want to take a second, if I could, please. I think it sort of dovetails into it. The second floor of Police HQ has been redone with some fantastic, very meaningful artifacts and artwork, all with a very distinct Indigenous flavor. It looks absolutely spectacular, but beyond that, I just want to take a minute and note that, since the beginning of time, human beings have relied on art to help us make sense of life, from the earliest cave paintings to the pictographs that are in Agua Bay, right in our neck of the woods, to political art and pop culture art that we've seen. It's always been a reflection of our times. And the work that has gone in to renovating that public area outside the elevators on the second floor is a real visible sign of respect. It's a clear recognition of the gratitude that police have to operate on the land on which we're operating. And it's a distinct image of reconciliation. And I can't think of a better place to have such a display than a law enforcement agency like our local police force. If you haven't seen it, take a minute and look at it. Everything is seeped in meaning and tradition, from the colors used to the positioning. It's absolutely beautiful. I want to thank the hardworking staff at police for putting that together, for the creative vision, and really for what it stands for. So thank you very much. And it's just a beautiful display. And Lincoln, I think, is going to have a presentation now with regard to this advisory committee. If you could, Lincoln, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to speak on it briefly. Obviously, from the chief's direction, he would like to develop a community advisory committee that our vision is that we'll have the diverse representation from a few different members of the community. We have the terms of reference, sort of a welcome handbook, application stuff. That's all ready to go. In the next couple of weeks, we plan to roll this out publicly as part of that ask from the community to show interest to participate. I will reach out to many of our local community groups to make sure that they're aware, and we would very much welcome their interest in participating in this advisory committee. So yeah, we're pretty much ready to go. Just a couple of finishing touches, but Chief Duguay's, this is an important piece of Chief Duguay's administration, so we want to make sure we took the time to research it and really do it properly. So I think we're almost across the finish line to get this out to the public, and hopefully we have a lot of interest from community members to participate.
So from my perspective, this is one of the things I kind of, when I did my interview, this is one of the things I felt the organization could really benefit from. I know it's being used in other organizations, particularly here in the north. I feel it increases our connection with the community. It provides individuals who want to have their voices heard a format to do that. Obviously, we can't have an infinite number of people, so we're hoping to get some real cross section. We'll certainly coordinate with some of the youth communities and some of the other groups that are already out there, and we're hoping that we get some real interest from across this many sectors of our city. And once that gets up and running, I'll be able to have everybody come to the table. A great resource for us to be able to reach out to individuals depending on the different perspectives that we want to draw from here. So I'm hoping it's received in the way I vision it, and in the way it's being received in some of the other communities, particularly across the north. So yeah, the hope is we'll get it out. The policy's pretty much done. The only real issue might be if we get too much interest, and then how do you start kind of limiting? Now you can't have 50 people at a table trying to all be heard, but we'll try and if it means meeting with people and having an interview and see where we're at with it, then we'll see where that takes us. But we've been working on it since I kind of became chief. Lincoln's put a bunch of work into the research of it, reaching out to other organizations to make sure we're kind of in line with what other services are doing. And I think for us, it'll be a great opportunity to try to build that trust and that relationship with some other community partners that maybe don't feel they're being, they have the say because they have a big organization kind of back them. So we'll see how it goes. The hope is we're going to put it out there, we'll get interest, and then we'll move forward from there. So this is more just information for you about something that's going on. Obviously the lobby was something that we've been talking about doing for a while, and my staff did a great job of getting that done in a hurry, because we wanted to make sure as we rolled this out, we kind of had that in place as well. So that would be it. It's just more information only. If you have any questions about it, we can certainly speak to it. We'll have a policy kind of in place for it and some procedures for applying, and we'll get that out here in the very near future. So,
thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments on this item?
No, I think it was great.
And with regard to the advisory committee, I'm just delighted to see you advance this. We've talked before about how it's so imperative that the board and police reflect a cross-section of our community. We're certainly not there yet, but this is a step in absolutely the right direction. one of the hallmarks of colonialism and imperialism is barreling in and saying, this is how I'm going to take care of this matter for you, without asking the target audience, how would you like it to be taken care of? This shows a real listening ear on the part of law enforcement. And I just couldn't be more delighted that you're moving forward with this advisory committee. And I hope you get a really diverse cross-section of the community coming forward. And the idea is really to pitch ideas, right, Chief? There's nothing wrong that you could put forward. If you've got ideas, put it forward. The idea is to hear from the community. Am I correct?
Correct. Safe place to have conversation and discussion, open dialogue, and in respectful manner, of course. And I think it goes a long way to building trust within some of those communities that don't feel maybe that they have a lot of trust in the police right now. So I think any communication we can have and any outreach we can do, at the end of the day, you're holding our hand out. If they choose to take it, that's great, and we will certainly look forward to working with the entire community to make our city a better place.
Right. Well, I just love it. Thank you. Thank you for your initiative and this progressive attitude. It's just really the way policing, I think the community wants to see the policing going. So that's a really good news story. Thank you very much. Our next item 17, is actually also being deferred, which brings us to new business, Chief.
Oh yes, new business. Good news. You haven't heard anything about the taxi bylaw lately. It's going to be a full presentation today. So again, the taxi renewals are due. We are getting calls about the taxi renewals. The city bylaw office has been contacted about where it stands. I'll let my Inspector Derek Dewar kind of speak to the status of it. There has been some direction from this board and the 3 previous boards to have it moved down to the city. And I'll let Derek give you an update on it, if you would, Derek.
Thank you. So as the chief said, it's time of year again where all the cab companies have to do their annual renewals for the requirements, safety checks, things of that nature. In front of this board last year, I got moved forward a little bit where we met with people from the city to get the bylaw moved under the city's umbrella. We had staff here redraft the bylaw in its entirety, then have the city have their legal look at it and then implement it with the changes so that all the things would be under the city's umbrella. We are getting inquiries from different cab companies because some of the legislation regarding safety requirements and how vehicle safety is conducted, which led to some gray areas within how the existing bylaw is worded and what the new practical way of safety is done. Our stance was one way. The city's solicitor's stance was a little bit different than that, which led to different advice being given to different cab companies, obviously causing problems, which is why we want to push to have kind of the city move forward with taking this over. As we said, there was a resolution back in 2021 to start this. So without trying to pick a fight too much,
it seems like there's not a big desire for the city to take on the administration of the taxis. So we continue to have people show up at our door. We check their licensing, we renew them, and then the fee gets paid to the city. So we're hoping that city staff, we will certainly do background checks on all the things that fall under our purview. In the old days, the police officer was out checking safeties on vehicles. That doesn't happen anymore. It's a mechanic in the MTO. So it's simply fill out the forms and drop them off at City Hall, then get directed up to the city police station to do your background check. We feel we've done all we can do to move this forward. As you know, we rewrote essentially what the changes we feel should be in the bylaw. I don't know what else to say short of we're now on the cusp of another year where we're having people walk in and present us with paperwork that we will process when I feel it should have been in 2021, something that the city staff should be managing. So I've again just bring it to the board's attention, and if there's a way to bring that forward, we have reached out to the city, and the discussion is always it's being worked on. But once again, we were hoping that before this year came around, they would be managing it kind of at their end. So I just bring it to the board's attention, as it was been a resolution year after year after year, and here we are kind of again. So I'm not sure what the solution is. If there's short of, we've called, we've asked, kind of that's where it sits.
Have you sent any letters?
I can. I will.
Is it in writing?
So, I mean, it's just for your information, we are, I mean, short of us directing the cabs on our own to go down to the city and speak to somebody down there, I don't know who to direct them to, or if there's somebody that, to the bylaw department, what's gonna happen when they start showing up down the bylaw department, they don't know that they're coming, it'll be, no, you're supposed to be at the police station, and I don't wanna run, make these people run around any more than necessary, but if we could, the change could come, we can find out a time frame for when the change is going to come, that would be great.
So, an ask here, Brent?
Just that I don't know, there's a way this board can move it forward. In the past, Ms. Vesnuallen was on here and Mr. obviously Bruni's on council. We have the mayor saying this, I don't know what's appropriate, just that it's been a long time trying to get it done. And short of, bit of a push, the asking is happened. We've tried to do all we can do to try and get it changed over, because again, we're doing the management of it, and the checks are getting sent to City Hall. So my staff is at the front desk doing the work, and checking the documents. The discussion is we're happy to do the part we do, which is background checks. I just don't know that there's a desire to have it changed, or how long it takes, or they only do it once a year maybe for bylaw changes. I just don't know the process down there, but it seems like it's been taking a lot longer than maybe it should have taken.
Sorry, it's once a year that taxi renewals happen, like it doesn't matter when they were brought into.
So vehicle safety checks and all that happen kind of this time of year. If you hire a new driver, there's a bunch of paperwork that has to get done, and then the head driver has to get a background check, essentially.
Absolutely.
So we're hoping that all the paperwork gets done, taken to State Hall. Yeah, you're good to go with the paperwork. You have to go to the city police now and get your background check.
Because it's a revenue generating thing for the city, so
yeah.
So if a new cab company started, they'd have to do everything the day they started, but every March 31st of every year, they'd have to. That's the
Do their, and it's safety checks, and I'm sure you're.
Oh, yeah,
in the
no, I'm
business, so.
familiar, just I wasn't sure that I never knew that it landed all at the same time every year, so I agree wholeheartedly. I don't have any say.
Again, it's more, I guess, more for information. I will send a letter to CAO potentially, and if the board would like to help with some of that, that would be great. Otherwise, we will continue to manage it until we get the change occurs.
Don't want to get to the point where, I'm telling my staff, have them call the city.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of back and forth.
That'd be disservice to everybody.
Yeah, I agree. It's a waste of time.
Anything further on that, everyone?
From my perspective, if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them, obviously.
All right. Okay, thank you, Chief. Is there any further new business today? Looks like none. There's a little bit of, our next item is the next meeting date, and there's a little bit of an issue, everyone, because the chief and deputy are away at that time. So we can bounce it a week earlier, bringing it to April 22nd, or we can cancel the April meeting. Under the Act, as I understand it, we're obliged, under the Act, we're obliged to hold only 4 meetings, which we well exceed. But there's no point, obviously, in us proceeding without the chief or deputy chief present. So just if we can have an idea, shall we cancel that or advance it a week earlier?
Is that when we're going to do our more quarterly to bring February and March financials and stuff? I'm just wondering if it's worth it to have the April to get our February, March.
Yeah, we could send documentation out without a meeting if you just wanted to see them, but I mean, that would typically, we would have a quarterly at that point, so.
Maybe we can just do a little vote then. Those in favor of canceling the April meeting, it will be we'll take any materials from the April meeting and have it in May. Anyone in favor of that?
Doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter to you?
Yeah,
Um,
whatever you guys like.
I mean, it's pretty soon to have it April 22nd. I'm in favor of canceling it and just doing the meeting in May, if that's okay. Is anyone opposed to that? Silence is acquiescence. So there's not going to be a meeting in April unless, of course, there's something, an emergency that crops up. Otherwise, we'll proceed with the meeting in May. Lisa, do you have a May date yet?
27th.
May 27th. Very good. Content, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have a number of issues that we're going to discuss in a closed session, and we're meeting in closed pursuant to section 44 of the Act, which permits closed sessions to speak about such things as litigation, human resources matters, and legal matters that are subject to your client privilege. And that is the nature of the matters that we're going to be discussing in closed here now momentarily. So may I have a motion to move in closed, please?
Aye.
Thank you, Margie. Amanda has seconded. All in favor? We're going to adjourn and go into closed session. So we'll just let the media have their opportunity to leave the room. Thanks for attending.
Available.
Can I get a mover to adjourn the closed meeting?
Aye.
Margie, seconded by Matt. Resolved that the closed session is now adjourned at 3:20 and the meeting will resume in open. So I'll just scroll all the way back up. Okay, are we back?
Yep.
Can I get a motion to move, do we need a motion for that? Yeah, move motion, or matters rising from post. We don't need a motion for that?
No.
Okay.
Just an adjournment time and a mover and a seconder.
Okay, can I get a mover to adjourn our meeting
At 3.
at 3:21?
Yeah.